This one's going to challenge everything you think you know about proof, evidence, and what it means to verify divinity. We know this is sensitive territory, talking about non-duality as proof that your God hits every religious nerve, every materialist assumption, every philosophical position you've inherited. We're going to handle this with precision. Just know we've explored this from multiple angles in past videos. We showed you how God worships itself through you, how the monad recognizes itself, how consciousness operates through form. Today we're going 20, maybe 30, even 40 times deeper into why non-duality is the only framework that actually proves divinity without requiring belief, faith, or any external authority. Towards the end of this, I'm going to walk you through a verification process that doesn't ask you to believe a single word I'm saying. You'll be able to check this directly, immediately, using nothing but your own awareness. This is proof that is recognition, different from proof that leads to belief. So settle in, because we're about to dismantle every framework that claims to prove God exists separate from you, and then show you the one position that survives its own scrutiny. Let's begin. Every traditional attempt to prove God's existence fails for the same fundamental reason. They all operate from duality. They all assume a subject trying to prove an object, a seeker trying to verify something separate, a human attempting to demonstrate a God that exists over there. And this assumption, this foundational split, guarantees failure before you even begin. Think about the classic arguments. The ontological argument says God must exist because existence is a necessary predicate of perfection. The cosmological argument says everything needs a cause, therefore there must be a first cause. The teleological argument points to design in nature, therefore a designer. Every single one operates from the same hidden assumption that there's a you here examining evidence about God over there. But that assumption is precisely what needs to be questioned. Because if God is actually separate from you, if there's genuinely a subject here and a divine object there, then you've already lost what every mystical tradition points to. You've already accepted the fundamental division that creates the whole problem in the first place. Here's what happens with dualistic proof. You gather evidence, you build arguments, you construct logical frameworks, and maybe you convince yourself, maybe the reasoning seems sound, but it all rests on belief. You're believing the premises, believing the logic holds, believing the conclusion follows. And belief is always vulnerable to doubt. Always. Because belief operates in the realm of the mind, and the mind can always construct a counter-argument, always find a gap in the reasoning, always discover another interpretation. This is why religious faith requires constant reinforcement. This is why communities of belief gather repeatedly to strengthen conviction. This is why doubt is treated as the enemy, as something to be overcome. When your proof requires belief, it's never actually proof. It's persuasion. And what can be persuaded one direction can be persuaded another. The materialist knows this. The atheist knows this. They look at every theological argument and spot the assumptions, the logical leaps, the places where faith has to fill the gaps. And they're correct to be skeptical. If God is what you're trying to prove exists separate from you, you're never going to have proof that satisfies. You're always going to be arguing from inference, from probability, from best explanation. Never from direct, undeniable, immediate verification. So let me tell you what non-duality offers that's fundamentally different. Non-duality goes beyond another argument about God's existence. It's the recognition that the entire framework of proving God exists is based on a division that never actually occurred. It's the discovery that what you are and what God is are two things that need to be connected. They're one thing appearing as two through a trick of attention. And this goes beyond philosophy. This exceeds a clever conceptual position. This is verifiable right now through direct examination of your own experience. That's what makes it proof. Neither logical proof nor evidential proof, but recognition proof. The kind of proof that doesn't require belief because it is what you are discovering yourself to be. But before we get to that verification, you need to understand why non-duality is logically necessary. More than mystically profound, actually the only coherent position when you think it through completely. Start with this question. If two things exist, what separates them? Seems simple enough. You might say space separates them. But then what is space? Is space something or nothing? If space is something, if it's an actual existent, then you don't have two things, you have three. Thing one, thing two, and space. And now you need to ask, what separates thing one from space? What separates thing two from space? You need more space to separate them from space. You see the problem. You've created an infinite regress. Okay, so maybe space is nothing. Maybe it's just the absence between things. But if space is nothing, genuinely nothing, complete non-existence, then how do the two things remain separate? What maintains the division? Nothing can't do anything. Nothing can't separate, can't maintain boundaries, can't keep things distinct. If absolute nothingness exists between two things, they collapse into each other. There's no between for them to be on either side of. This goes beyond abstract philosophy. This is the actual problem of boundaries. You think there's you and the world, you and other people, subject and object. But what actually creates this division? Where exactly does you end and not you begin? You might point to your skin, but your skin is a sensation. It's an experience appearing in your awareness. The feeling of skin, the visual perception of skin, the concept of skin as boundary, all of this is content in consciousness. So consciousness is aware of skin. Consciousness contains the experience of skin, which means consciousness can't be bounded by skin because the boundary itself is appearing in consciousness. Think carefully right now. You're aware of body sensations, aware of thoughts, aware of perceptions. All of this is content appearing in awareness, which means awareness itself isn't contained by any of it. The content appears in awareness like images on a screen. And you don't say the screen is bounded by the images. The images appear on the screen is what makes the images possible. Same with your awareness. Everything you experience appears in awareness, which means awareness isn't one of the things appearing. It's what makes appearance possible. And if awareness isn't bounded by anything appearing in it, where exactly does it end? Try to find the boundary of your awareness right now. Not the boundary of your body, not the boundary of what you can perceive, the boundary of awareness itself. Can you locate where awareness stops? Can you find the edge of consciousness? You can't. Because to find a boundary, you'd have to be aware of both sides of it. You'd have to be aware of what's inside the boundary and what's outside it. But if you're aware of both sides, then your awareness encompasses both sides, which means the boundary isn't a boundary of awareness. It's a boundary appearing in awareness. This is the fundamental recognition. Awareness has no boundary because anything that could be a boundary is something you're aware of, which means awareness extends to include it. Boundaries are content, never container. Divisions are appearances, never actualities. If you're following this carefully, you're noticing something. You've made many comments in the past about where you think consciousness is located. Leave a comment sharing what you're seeing now. And if this is clicking, drop a like so I know this is landing. Because what we're building here is the foundation for why non-duality offers more than another spiritual idea. It's the only position that doesn't collapse under its own logic. So if awareness has no actual boundary, no real division from what appears in it, then what are you? Are you a separate consciousness, a little island of awareness floating in a universe of stuff? Or are you the awareness in which the entire appearance, body, world, others, all of it arises? This is where every dualistic position breaks down. If you're a separate consciousness, something distinct from the world, then you have the boundary problem. What separates you from the world? Where's the line? And if you can't find an actual line, an actual boundary, then the separation is conceptual. The separation is an idea appearing in awareness, never a fact about what awareness is. But if you're different from separate, if awareness is what contains the appearance of body and world, rather than being located in the body looking out at the world, then the whole framework shifts. Then the question transforms from how do I prove God exists to what is this awareness that I am, and is it different from what traditions call God? And this is where we need precision, because non-duality can be misunderstood in two opposite directions, and both misunderstandings miss the actual recognition. First misunderstanding, everything is one as a concept. This becomes a belief system, another philosophy. You think to yourself, okay, I accept that everything is one. Separation is illusion, we're all connected. And you've made non-duality into another idea in your head, another position you hold, but an idea of oneness is still duality. There's you and there's the idea of oneness, subject and object. The idea might be true, but believing it differs from realization. Second misunderstanding, nothing matters as nihilism. If everything is one, if separation is illusion, then distinctions don't matter, choices don't matter, nothing really matters. This is a complete corruption. Non-duality reveals what they actually are. Waves are distinct from each other, but they never separate from ocean. Forms are distinct from each other, but they never separate from consciousness. The distinctness is real. The separation is illusion. What non-duality actually points to is more subtle than either of these. It's the recognition that what you fundamentally are, your personality, your history, your body aside, the awareness in which all of this appears, this awareness is neither personal nor local nor bounded. And if it's neither personal nor local nor bounded, then it's never different from what's appearing as every other apparently separate form. Kashmir Shaivism as the clearest articulation of this. They call it Pratyabhijna, recognition. Neither attainment nor achievement, but recognition of what already is. And the recognition is this: consciousness, pure awareness, what they call Shiva, is the only substance. Everything appearing is Shiva recognizing itself through different forms. Abhinavagupta, the great Kashmir Shaivism master, makes this extremely precise. He says consciousness has absolute freedom, Svatantrya. And in its freedom, consciousness contracts itself, limits itself, takes on the appearance of being bounded. Nothing outside consciousness limits it. There is no outside. Consciousness has the power to appear to itself as limited, the power to forget itself, the power to play at being separate. And this play, this apparent limitation, creates the entire appearance of duality. Consciousness appearing as subject and object. Consciousness appearing as knower and known. Consciousness appearing as you're looking at a world. But it's always consciousness. The division is appearance, never reality. The separation is real as appearance. You genuinely experience yourself as separate, but it's never true as fact. It's consciousness experiencing itself as if divided, while never actually dividing. This is why the recognition is called Pratyabhijna, recognition, never discovery. Because you're finding nothing new, you're recognizing what you've always been, like the wave recognizing its ocean. The wave didn't become ocean. The wave was always ocean, just appearing as wave. The recognition is just the wave discovering what it is, what it's always been. And this recognition, this is the proof. Never proof that God exists separate from you. Proof that what you are and what God is aren't two things. Proof that the awareness present right now, the consciousness that is your fundamental nature, is never different from the consciousness that's appearing as everything else. But how is this proof? How does recognition function as proof when traditional arguments require evidence? Here's what you need to understand about proof. Proof only works when there's verification. When someone can check whether something is true or false, accurate or inaccurate. Traditional proof tries to verify claims about objects. Does X exist? Does Y have property Z? And that works for objects. You can verify whether a chair exists by looking for it. You can verify whether water boils at 100 degrees C by measuring it. But consciousness differs from an object. It's the subject. It's what's doing all the verifying. And you can't verify the subject the same way you verify objects. The subject is never in the position of being examined. It's always in the position of examining. Try it. Try to make your awareness into an object that you observe. You might observe thoughts about awareness. You might observe sensations that you interpret as awareness. But can you actually make awareness itself into something you look at? Can you step outside of awareness to examine awareness from outside? You can't. Any position you take to examine awareness is a position in awareness. Any attempt to observe awareness is awareness observing itself. You can't get outside of it because there is no outside of it. Everything is inside awareness, including the attempt to examine awareness. This is why traditional proof fails for consciousness. Proof requires a subject examining evidence about an object, but consciousness is the subject. Always. Irreducibly. You can't turn it into an object without that objectification happening in consciousness, which means consciousness remains the subject even when you try to make it the object. So how do you verify consciousness? How do you prove what you are? You recognize it directly. You notice that you're aware. You notice that awareness is what you fundamentally are. Never that awareness is a property you possess. The noticing, the recognizing, this is the proof. The recognition is consciousness knowing itself. Consciousness knowing something about itself, yet simultaneously consciousness being self-luminous, self-knowing, self-evident. Kashmir Shaivism calls this Prakasha, the light of consciousness that illuminates everything, including itself. It differs from physical light that illuminates objects but can't illuminate itself. Consciousness illuminates everything, and in illuminating everything, it simultaneously knows itself as the illuminating. The knowing and the light are the same thing. This is completely different from belief. Belief says, I accept this claim as true. Recognition says, I am this. Belief is in the mind. Recognition is prior to mind. Belief can be doubted. Recognition can't be. The doubting is also consciousness, which proves consciousness is present even in the doubting. You can doubt whether you're the body. You can doubt whether thoughts are yours. You can doubt whether the world exists. But you can't doubt that you're aware. The doubting is awareness in action. Every doubt proves the doubter, proves consciousness. This is why Descartes' I think, therefore I am, is almost correct but incomplete. It should be I am aware, therefore I am. Thinking comes and goes. Sometimes you're thinking, sometimes you're finished. But awareness is constant. Even in deep sleep, when there's no thinking, awareness continues. Otherwise, you couldn't report that you slept, that there was an absence of dreams. The absence is known, which means awareness was present to register the absence. So awareness is self-proving. It's the one thing that can't be doubted, can't be denied, can't be absent. It's the irreducible fact of your existence. And once you recognize this, once you notice that awareness is what you are rather than what you have, then the next question becomes, is this awareness personal or impersonal? Is it local or non-local? Is it bounded or unbounded? And this is where you check directly, through logic, through belief, yet simultaneously through immediate verification. Is awareness located? Does it have a position in space? You might think it's located in your head, in your brain, but that's confusing awareness with its contents. Thoughts seem to appear in the head region. Visual perceptions seem to appear in front of you. But awareness itself, the knowing of thoughts, the knowing of perceptions, where is it located? Try to find it. Point to where awareness is. You can point to your head, but that's pointing to a body part, never to awareness. You can point to a sensation in your head, but that's pointing to a sensation, never to awareness. Awareness is what knows the sensation, what's aware of the head, so it can't be located in what it's aware of. What about size? Does awareness have dimensions? Is it large or small? Thoughts appear. Perceptions appear. The body appears. These have characteristics, size, shape, duration. But awareness itself, what's the size of the knowing? What's the shape of being conscious? There isn't one. Size is a characteristic of objects in awareness, never a characteristic of awareness itself. Awareness doesn't have dimensions. It's never an object. It's the space in which all objects, all dimensions, all sizes appear. And what about boundaries? We already touched on this, but look again. Where does awareness begin and end? Your body's beginning and ending aside. Where does the consciousness that's aware of the body begin and end? You can't find a boundary. Boundaries are things you're aware of, never properties of awareness itself. Every boundary appears in awareness, which means awareness isn't bounded by any boundary. It includes all boundaries, which means it's beyond boundaries, prior to boundaries. So what we're discovering through direct examination is that awareness is locationless, dimensionless, boundaryless. It's never a thing. It's never an object. It's the no thing in which all things appear, the formless in which all forms arise, the infinite in which all finitude appears. And here's the critical question: if this is what you are, if you are this locationless, dimensionless, boundaryless awareness, is there more than one of it? Think carefully. If awareness has no boundary, how could there be a second awareness? What would separate them? Where would the division be? Two things require a boundary between them, but awareness has no boundary, which means there can't be a second awareness. A second awareness would require a boundary distinguishing it from the first, but boundaryless can't have boundaries. If consciousness is boundaryless and therefore can't be divided into separate consciousnesses, then what you are is what everyone is, what every apparent form is. The awareness looking through these eyes is the same awareness looking through all eyes. Never similar awareness, never connected awareness, the same awareness. There's only one. But this seems impossible. You experience yourself as separate. You don't know what others are experiencing. You're clearly here, they're clearly there. How can it be the same awareness? This is where the teaching becomes precise. The awareness is the same. The content appearing in awareness is different. Think of the screen metaphor, but more carefully. One screen, multiple movies. The movies are different characters, different plots, different experiences. But the screen is the same. The light is the same. The display is the same. Consciousness is the screen. Your life is one movie. Another person's life is a different movie. The movies are genuinely different perspectives, different experiences, different content. But the consciousness in which the movies appear, the awareness that makes the movies possible, that's the same. One screen, infinite movies. This is why you don't access other people's content. You're never supposed to. The whole point of the appearance of separation is differentiation, is the infinite experiencing itself from infinite perspectives. If you accessed all content simultaneously, there'd be no perspectives, no differentiation, no play of consciousness with itself. But the screen is the same. The awareness is the same. What you fundamentally are, your content, your story, your perspective aside, the awareness in which your content appears, that's identical with the awareness in which everyone's content appears. Awareness doesn't divide, content divides. Awareness remains whole. And now we can finally answer the question, what is God? If God means the infinite, the eternal, the source of all existence, the ground of being, then God is consciousness. Never consciousness as a property of brains. Never consciousness as a product of evolution. Consciousness as the fundamental reality, the one substance, the only actual existence from which all apparent existences arise. And if God is consciousness and you are consciousness, then you and God aren't two things. You are that. You will never become that. You're never connected to that. You are that. Right now. Eternally. This is why non-duality is the only proof that you're God. It's never trying to prove that something separate called God exists. It's recognizing that what you are is what God is. Like the wave discovering its ocean. The discovery doesn't make it ocean. It always was ocean. The discovery is just the wave knowing what it is. And this recognition, this is irrefutable. Never because it's logically airtight. Never because it has overwhelming evidence. Because it's self-evident. The awareness that you are is obvious, undeniable, immediately present. And the characteristics of that awareness, locationless, dimensionless, boundaryless, non-dual, these are verifiable through direct examination. You don't have to believe me. You can check right now. Are you aware? Obvious, yes. Is that awareness located? Check. Does it have boundaries? Check. Could there be two of it? Check. Is it different from what traditions call divine consciousness? Check. Every answer points to the same recognition. What you are is never separate from what God is. The separation is conceptual, never actual. The division is appearance, never reality. The boundedness is assumed, never verified. But let's address the objections. If you've been taught that you're a limited human and God is the unlimited divine, this recognition seems blasphemous. It seems like ego inflation. It seems like the ultimate arrogance to claim you're God. And that objection makes sense if you misunderstand what's being said. If you think your personality is God, your history is God, your history is God, your preferences and opinions and wounds are God, then yes, that's delusion. That's ego claiming divinity. That's exactly what religions warn against. But that's never what's being recognized here. Your personality is content in awareness. Your personality is content in awareness. Your history is content in awareness. Your preferences, opinions, wounds, all content in awareness. And content is limited, bounded, impermanent. Content is the wave, never the ocean. The form, never the formless. The appearance, never the reality. What's being recognized as God is the awareness itself, the consciousness prior to content, the formless that takes on all forms, the infinite that appears as all finitude. That's never personal. That's never yours. That's what you are when all content is recognized as content, and what remains is the knowing of content. This is the difference between ego saying, I am God, and recognition revealing I am God. When ego says it, there's a claimer. There's someone asserting divinity. There's pride, inflation, specialness. But when recognition reveals it, there's no claimer. There's just consciousness recognizing its own nature. And that nature is the same in everyone, everything, everywhere. So there's no specialness, no elevation, just simple, obvious fact. Ramana Maharshi was asked, "Are you God?" He said, "Yes, and so are you, and so is everyone. The only difference is I know it and you don't." That's never arrogance. And this brings us to the mechanism of why non-duality is proof, while duality can't be. In duality, you have subject and object. You as subject trying to prove God as object. You look at the world and infer a creator. You examine order and infer a designer. You experience longing and infer something to long for. All inference, all gap crossing, all vulnerable to doubt. But in non-duality, there's no gap to cross. There's no subject trying to prove an object. There's consciousness recognizing itself. The recognizer and the recognized aren't two things. It's like your hand recognizing it's part of your body. The hand doesn't need to prove it's connected to the body. The connection is immediate, obvious, undeniable. The hand is body. The recognition is direct. Same with consciousness recognizing itself. You don't prove your consciousness. You notice your consciousness. And the noticing is the proof. The noticing is consciousness in action. The knowing proves the knower. The awareness proves the aware. Never through logic, through immediacy. This is what makes it irrefutable. You can doubt anything except that you're aware. You can doubt the external world. Maybe it's illusion. Maybe it's dream. You can doubt the body. Maybe you're never physical. Maybe this is virtual. You can doubt thoughts. Maybe they're never yours. Maybe they're programmed. But you can't doubt awareness. The doubting is awareness. The questioning is awareness. The uncertainty is appearance in awareness. So awareness is the one absolute. The one thing that can't be denied, can't be absent, can't be illusory. And if awareness is absolute, if it's the one undeniable reality, then awareness is what traditions have been calling God all along. The absolute, the eternal, the ground of all existence. Never a being with properties, never a person with preferences, but the beingness itself, the isness. The consciousness that allows any existence to be experienced, including the existence of the body-mind you call you. And this is why every path, every practice, every teaching ultimately points back to this. This is the foundation. This is what's true before any teaching, what remains after every practice, what's present through every experience. The unchanging reality that makes all change possible. Meditation allows awareness to recognize itself by withdrawing attention from content. The practice removes what obscures. Prayer allows consciousness to speak to itself, long for itself, discover that separation never existed. Communion happens within the one. Devotion allows consciousness to love itself, celebrate itself, recognize its own nature. No favor requires earning, only seeing what remains true. All paths are consciousness discovering itself through different approaches. And when the discovery is complete, when the recognition is full, all paths reveal the same truth. There's only consciousness, one appearing as many. Infinite appearing as finite. God appearing as you. This is what's present right now. Never the eyes, they're instruments. Never the brain, it's processing equipment. What's actually here is consciousness, awareness. The same awareness that's appearing as everything else while remaining fundamentally unchanged by any appearance. Drop a comment if you're starting to see this, what's shifting in your understanding. And if you're tracking this deeply, hit subscribe because we're going deeper into this territory in ways that nobody else is. Your articulation helps the recognition deepen. Now let's get even more specific about how this operates, because non-duality offers more than philosophy. It has precise mechanics. Kashmir Shaivism describes 5 acts of consciousness: creation, maintenance, dissolution, concealment, and revelation. These aren't 5 things consciousness does. They're 5 aspects of how consciousness appears to itself. Creation is consciousness taking form. Right now, your thoughts are being created. Perceptions are arising. Sensations are appearing. This is creation happening continuously. Never creation in the past. Creation now, moment by moment, as consciousness manifests as content. Maintenance is consciousness sustaining form. The body persists from moment to moment. The world seems stable. Patterns continue. This is maintenance, consciousness holding appearances in being, keeping forms recognizable, creating continuity of experience. Dissolution is consciousness releasing form. Thoughts arise and pass. Perceptions come and go. The body ages and will eventually die. This is dissolution, consciousness withdrawing from form, allowing appearances to cease, creating change and impermanence. These three are obvious. You watch them happen constantly, but the next two are what create the entire spiritual predicament. Concealment is consciousness hiding from itself. This is the act where infinite consciousness appears to be finite awareness, where boundless consciousness appears to be bounded by a body, where the one consciousness appears as separate consciousnesses. This is Maya, Leela, the divine play of hide and seek. Consciousness concealing its nature from itself so it can experience not knowing. And revelation is consciousness recognizing itself. This is what's happening when you have any moment of clarity, any instant of presence, any flash of, oh, I see. It's consciousness revealing its nature to itself, concealment lifting, the veil becoming transparent, recognition beginning to dawn. These 5 acts are happening simultaneously, continuously. Right now, consciousness is creating this experience, maintaining this apparent continuity, dissolving previous moments, concealing its infinite nature behind the appearance of finitude, and revealing itself in whatever degree of recognition is present. All 5 are consciousness. The concealment is consciousness concealing. The revelation is consciousness revealing. There's no outside force hiding truth from you. There's no separate power revealing truth to you. It's consciousness playing all parts, the hidden and the revealer, the veil and the lifting, the forgetting and the remembering. This is what Abhinavagupta means by absolute freedom, Svatantrya. Consciousness is completely free, free to create any appearance, free to limit itself, free to forget itself, free to remember itself. Nothing outside consciousness constrains it. Nothing limits it except its own power to appear limited. And that power to appear limited is itself a demonstration of limitlessness. Only the truly unlimited could appear limited without actually becoming limited. Think about this carefully. You, as infinite consciousness, have the power to appear as a limited body-mind. You can contract your awareness down to a single perspective, a single location, a single lifetime. But the contraction is appearance, never fact, like an actor appearing as a character. The actor's never actually the character. The actor plays the character while remaining the actor. The character is real as appearance, never real as ultimate fact. Same with you. The character, this body-mind, this personality, this history is real as appearance, real as content in consciousness, but never real as what you ultimately are. What you ultimately are is the consciousness playing the character, the awareness animating the form, the infinite appearing as the finite. And the proof of this is that you can notice it. Right now, you can become aware that you're aware. You can witness the character, your thoughts about yourself, your feelings about your life, your story about who you are. And that which witnesses the character differs from the character. That which is aware of the story is never in the story. That which knows the appearance is never limited to the appearance. This is the witness, the seer, the knower. And when you investigate the witness, when you turn attention back on itself, you discover the witness is never separate from what's witnessed. It's consciousness knowing itself through apparent division. Subject and object both appearing in the same awareness, distinguished by content but never divided by substance. Non-duality is precise here. It doesn't say there's no difference between subject and object. It says subject and object are differences appearing in non-difference, like waves on ocean. The waves are genuinely different, different shapes, different sizes, different movements, but they never separate from ocean. Every wave is ocean in wave form. Every wave is 100% ocean, just appearing as differentiated form. Same with subject and object. They're genuinely different as appearance. Different content, different characteristics, different roles in experience, but never separate as substance. Both are consciousness. Subject is consciousness appearing as knower. Object is consciousness appearing as known. And the knowing that connects them is also consciousness. All consciousness, different forms, same substance. This is why you can't actually find a division. You can find differences, obvious, undeniable differences, but you can't find actual separation. The separation would have to be made of something, and that something would be either consciousness or non-consciousness. If it's consciousness, then consciousness continues across the apparent division, which means there's no real division. And if it's non-consciousness, it doesn't exist. Consciousness is all that exists. Everything that appears in consciousness as content of consciousness. So you're left with non-duality, never as a belief, as a recognition of what's actually the case when you examine carefully. And this recognition is the proof that you're never a limited consciousness inside a body looking out at a world. The proof that you're the consciousness in which body and world both appear as content. And if you're the consciousness in which everything appears, then you're never different from what traditions call God. You're never equal to God. Equality still implies two things. You're never connected to God. Connection still implies separation. You are what God is, the infinite consciousness appearing as apparently finite form. Let's bring this to the level of direct experience, because everything said so far could remain conceptual unless you verify it directly. Right now, notice that you're aware. Don't think about it, just notice. There's awareness present, obvious, undeniable, immediate. Now notice what you're aware of. Thoughts might be present. Sensations. Perceptions. Sounds. Whatever content is arising, notice it's appearing in awareness. Now here's the key question. Is awareness one of the things appearing, or is awareness what makes appearance possible? Look carefully. You're aware of thoughts. So thoughts are content in awareness. You're aware of body sensations. So sensations are content in awareness. You're aware of the sense that there's a you experiencing all this. So even that sense of being a separate experiencer is content in awareness, which means awareness itself is never content. It's context. It's the space in which all content appears, the knowing in which all known arises, the consciousness in which all experience manifests. And if awareness is context rather than content, then everything you experience is happening in awareness, as appearance within awareness. Which means awareness is primary and everything else is secondary. Awareness is the foundation, and all experience is what appears on that foundation. Now notice, can you turn awareness into an object? Can you make it something you observe? You might observe qualities you associate with awareness, clarity, brightness, presence. But are these qualities awareness itself? Or are they experiences you interpret as awareness? The brightness is an experience. The sense of presence is an experience. All content in awareness. Awareness itself never becomes an object. It's the subject. Never the subject as in the ego or personality. The subject as in that which knows, that which witnesses, that which is conscious of all content without being reducible to any content. And here's what's verifiable. This awareness that you are, is it personal? Does it have your name? Does it have your history? Or are your name and history content appearing in awareness? Check directly. The thought, I am John Doe, appears. The memory of your history appears. The sense of being a person appears. All appearing in awareness, which means awareness is never personal. Personhood is content in awareness. Awareness is what makes the experience of personhood possible. If awareness is never personal, is it local? Is it happening at a location? The body seems located in space. The thought, I am here, appears as content. But awareness itself, is that located, or is location a concept appearing in awareness? Space itself is an experience. The sense of here and there is perception. Up and down is orientation in consciousness. All content in awareness, which means awareness is never in space. Space is in awareness. Location is appearance in the locationless. And if awareness is never personal and never local, does it have a beginning or end? Does it start and stop? Thoughts come and go. States change. The body was born and will die. But awareness itself, can you find a moment when it wasn't present? Can you locate a time when you weren't conscious? You might say, when I was asleep. But how do you know you were asleep? You're aware of having slept. The absence of content is known, which means awareness was present to register the absence. Deep sleep is awareness without content, never absence of awareness. So awareness is constant, unchanging, eternal, never as infinite duration, but as presence outside time. Time is appearance in awareness. Past and future are thoughts appearing now. Now is all that ever is. Eternal present in which all time appears as content. Never the person that's a character you're appearing as. What you are is the awareness in which all of this appears. The consciousness that makes all experience possible. The infinite presence appearing as finite form. And if this awareness is impersonal, non-local, eternal, unbounded, what's the difference between this and what's called divine consciousness? What's the difference between this and God? There is no difference. The difference is conceptual, never actual. God has been imagined as separate, as other, as somewhere else. But when you look directly at what's called God, infinite, eternal, omnipresent consciousness, and you look directly at what you are, impersonal, non-local, unbounded awareness, there's no distinction. Same nature, same presence, same being. The only difference is recognition. God knows it's God. Most humans don't know they're God, but the not knowing doesn't change what's true. It just veils it. And the veil is thin. The veil is just attention placed on content instead of context, on appearance instead of awareness, on the movie instead of the screen. Shift attention. Stop looking at what appears. Start noticing what's aware. Never as another experience to observe, as what you are. The noticing itself is consciousness being self-aware. The recognition is consciousness knowing itself. And once this recognition begins, once you notice even once that you're never the content, you're the awareness, something irreversible happens. The content continues. The character keeps playing, but there's knowing underneath. There's recognition that none of it defines you, limits you, captures what you actually are. This is liberation. Never liberation as escaping life. Liberation as recognizing what you are while life continues. The forms keep appearing. The experiences keep arising, but you know you're the formless in which forms appear, the awareness in which experiences arise. And that knowing is freedom. What you are can't be threatened, can't be lost, can't be damaged. All threat, all loss, all damage is to content. And you're never content. You're the consciousness in which content appears. This is why non-duality is the only proof that you're God. Every other proof tries to establish God as separate from you, tries to build a bridge from you to God. But the bridge is made of concepts, and concepts are content in consciousness. They're never the connection. They're obstacles to recognizing there's no separation. Non-duality dissolves the bridge by showing there's no gap. You're already what you're seeking. You've always been what you're seeking. The seeking itself is consciousness looking for itself in the wrong direction, outward, instead of as awareness. Turn around. Look at what's looking, never as an object, as what you are. The looking itself is consciousness. The awareness of looking is consciousness being self-aware. The knowing that you're aware is consciousness recognizing itself. That recognition is the proof. That recognition is liberation. That recognition is the answer to every seeking, every longing, every question about God and self and existence. The question and the answer are the same. The sort are the same. You and God are the same, never similar, never connected. The same consciousness appearing as both. One awareness manifesting as the question, what am I, and the recognition, I am that. Now we need to address the implications. If what's being said here is true, if you actually are divine consciousness appearing as human form, then everything changes. Never the content necessarily. The content might continue exactly as before, but the relationship to content transforms completely. First implication, there's no ultimate threat. The body can be damaged. The mind can suffer. The person can lose everything. But what you are can't be touched. You're never the body, never the mind, never the person. You're the awareness in which these appear. And awareness doesn't age, doesn't sicken, doesn't die. Forms die. Awareness continues. The wave dissolves. Ocean remains. The character ends. The actor continues. This is verifiable truth, never escapist fantasy. You can check right now. Has awareness aged? Is the consciousness that you are now older than the consciousness you were as a child? The content has changed. The body has aged. The mind has accumulated experience. But awareness itself, same presence, same knowing, unchanged by any change appearing in it. Second implication, there's no fundamental separation. Other people are other characters, but same consciousness, same awareness looking through different eyes, experiencing different content, playing different roles. The differentiation is real as appearance. The unity is real as substance, both true simultaneously. This transforms relationship, never by erasing boundaries. Boundaries are necessary for form to function. By recognizing what's beyond boundaries while respecting boundaries, you relate to the person while knowing the presence. You honor the form while recognizing the formless. You engage the difference while resting in non-difference. Third implication, meaning is never imposed from outside. There's no external authority declaring what's right or wrong, sacred or profane, meaningful or meaningless. Consciousness is authority, and your consciousness, which means meaning arises from your own depth, your own recognition, your own alignment with the nature of consciousness itself. This is never relativism. This is never anything goes. Consciousness has a nature. That nature is wholeness, is integration, is recognition of unity. Actions that fragment, that deny unity, that create suffering through ignorance of what you are, these naturally fall away as recognition deepens. Rules don't forbid them. They're recognized as consciousness harming itself, awareness creating suffering for itself. Morality from recognition is deeper than morality from commandment. Commandments are external, can be broken. Recognition is internal, transforms the impulse itself. You don't harm. You know there's no other to harm, only consciousness appearing as other. You don't deceive. You know truth is your nature. Distortion is suffering. You don't grasp. You know you're already the fullness. Seeking outside is seeking what you are. Notice you are what you've been seeking. Notice the proof is the recognition itself. This is it. This is the teaching. This is the truth. You are God recognizing yourself, consciousness knowing itself, the infinite experiencing itself as finite and recognizing what it actually is through that experience. Now you see. Now the proof is undeniable. It's your own recognition, your own noticing, your own consciousness being self-aware. That's the proof. That's the truth. That's what non-duality reveals that nothing else can. You are that. Right here, right now, always. Welcome home.